Nancy Solari is a best-selling author and a renowned speaker in business success and motivation. She's a life coach. She has empowered people who face physical and emotional challenges to fulfill their goals and overcome obstacles. When Nancy was 16 years old, she was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa and has experienced measurable vision loss over the years. She decided early on in life that she was going to make her dreams a reality, regardless of her disability. She's worked for Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight, and she's had a music career, top producing realtor in Southern California. Today, she is the host of the National Living Full Out show. Nancy is a prime example, literally a prime example of leading a successful life through determination and positivity. She believes that everyone is capable of overcoming adversities and living full out. Please welcome Miss Nancy Solari. Hi, Nancy.
Hello. Hi, welcome. I'm so excited to be here. It's nice to join your community. How fun.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to give a warm round of applause because that's what everyone in my community will be doing right now. Just giving you a great big warm welcome as you be a part of the Kim Jacobs Show. When I had you come on, I was so inspired hearing so much about your story and reading about you. And I was like, this is a woman that can inspire anyone to pursue their goals and dreams without making excuses. And I really think that people need to hear from you, someone that's come from a really long way in your own past and some of the struggles and obstacles that you've overcome to get to where you are today. Tell them a little bit about your background so that people will be able to appreciate who you are today.
Oh, that's a really great question, but a big one. I would say, like everyone else, I grew up as a young girl in Washington, and sadly, early on in my life, I had tragedy and trauma and stresses. Saw my family go through a really hard divorce, and there was domestic violence, and then I witnessed my sisters both go through an eating disorder. Watched my mom fight breast cancer. And then at 16 is when I was given the news that I had RP, retinitis pigmentosa, and my two sisters have it as well. We're kind of my mom's three blind mice, but they basically said to us that we would all go blind by 40. So at 16, I'm getting this news. And, when given all of that at such a young age, there's a lot of different ways that you can go, but I think early on in my family, I became the counselor. I became that sounding board. And so sometimes early on in our life, we really manifest who we're meant to be and the role that we play in life and with the people we are with. And then as my life unfolded, just when I tried to figure everything out, we all go through relationships that are successful and unsuccessful. We try to learn from them. I went through financial stress. I went through a bankruptcy way back when. I was in the music industry and went through sexual harassment. I ended up, really wanting to be a mom, but had 5 miscarriages.
Oh, my goodness.
Again, just when you have life figured out, it'll give you more quote, quote, stuff.
Right.
But what I've learned through all of that is it's just a matter of just taking a bite of that apple and living life full out and just expecting the unexpected.
Wow.
Right?
Yes, that's very true, Nancy. And one thing that you said is being able to be identified at an early age as the counselor in the family. We never know who's going to be the people that kind of lean to us for guidance and advice and direction. And it sounds like in your family, you were that go-to person. Or were you the person that officially said, I'll take on this charge, or were you assigned the charge? Which one?
You know what? I think I was just the one in the family who kind of took that role.
Okay.
I'm sure my 40-year-old mom should not have been leaning on her 10-year-old as her counselor, but she did. And watching my sisters go through, needing to turn to an eating disorder because it was the only thing they could control. Their family was falling apart. witnessing all of this just really took me to a place of wanting to help others. I just didn't know how to pull all that together. But then,
Interesting.
I think as you mature, you go into college time or, even throughout high school, that's when you can kind of find mentors and people to kind of guide you along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now with the retinitis pigmentosa, was that hereditary, or how did the
Um,
three of you end up getting this particular diagnosis?
you, that is such a great question. Before my father passed away, we were able to all do a blood test, and it is just kind of luck of the draw.
Hmm.
It was a chromosomal mismatch that both of my parents gave each of us girls, but no one else in my family prior had RP.
Interesting. Okay. And so now all three of you, with you technically legally being blind by, you said, by the age of 40, are all three of you experiencing that blindness?
It's interesting. We're all now over 40,
Okay.
and none of us are completely blind, but we all see pretty much just like shapes, and things are
Okay.
fuzzy, and you kind of lose the details.
Okay.
So in my world, there's no curves, there's no edges. In my world, there's very few faces. Only in the best light would I see people's faces. And then it affects like night blindness, so nighttime is super dark for me.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a little tricky one.
Well, you know what? I'm very grateful that you have your sight enough to be able to see some things. But I can tell you from someone that has full sight that looking at your picture, you are full of beauty on the outside and on the inside. So from a
You know what?
person,
I love that you say that. I love it. And the funny thing about that is I haven't really seen my face clearly since I
oh,
was probably 26. And so sometimes I will turn to my girlfriends. I'm like, okay, how are we looking? Do I have crow's feet? Do I have gray hairs? Do I have wrinkles? What's going on this face?
no, you're so beautiful, and I can only imagine how beautiful your sisters are as well. And if their spirits are
Uh,
anything half like yours, it's just a wonderful family unit. And I'm really grateful that you took the lead in that regard with your siblings and your mom. How is she doing now that she's made it through domestic violence, and you said your father passed away? It's a lot that's gone on in her life as well for her to overcome and still be great mom.
Yeah, she recovered from breast cancer and hasn't come back since. So knock on wood, that's great.
Yes, yes.
She actually, my father and her ended up divorcing, and she actually ended up having a second husband who passed away as well.
Oh,
But I would say, the thing about her, and this is where the role of a mother is so important,
yes.
is she is that soft place for us to fall, and she's our eyes. So if any one of her daughters needs her to go online and read something or check something out, like she'll do it. And I think it's given her a great sense of purpose to know that she can be there for us in that way.
That's wonderful. Well, I commend mom. What's your mom's name?
Her name is Carol.
Oh, well, Carol, if you're listening, I just commend you on being the eyes to your beautiful three daughters. So, congratulations on overcoming breast cancer, being a breast cancer survivor, and now being able to still be a wonderful mom and help your children through different things that they're experiencing on their journey. So, if you're listening, okay? But also, Nancy, you did obtain your bachelor's degree because even though you knew this at 16, you could have easily said, okay, I'm going to crawl up. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to curl up and kind of stay to myself. I don't want to be exposed to the rest of the world because I know this is forthcoming. But instead, you took a different approach. What was that approach?
Well, it's interesting. I knew this about myself, that I was a good listener. I had an empathetic heart. And like so many of us, I grew up watching Oprah Winfrey and her talk show, and Donahue and Sally, and all the good ones. And I thought to myself, that is something I'd like to do. And so how can I take being a good listener? How can I take giving advice and mirror that and match that with broadcasting? So when I went to the University of Oregon, I got 2 degrees, one in broadcasting and one in psychology. And, I knew that I wanted to learn those skills, but then it was years later, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, where I had to learn it wasn't about being another Oprah.
Right.
It was about becoming an original.
That's
and
right.
that became a really big message. Mm-hmm.
So how did you become an original? Because that's interesting that you say that, because I used to literally, Nancy, I would do closed captioning and would put all the words on and read everything that Oprah Winfrey would say and Phil Donahue. I would just read exactly as if I was them, pretty much. I was just practicing and playing like I was a talk show host, not knowing that I really would ultimately become one. And so even in becoming a show host now, my desire is the same as yours. It's not to become another Oprah or another Phil or anyone, but to be the best Kim that I can be, And so I can relate to that.
Absolutely. And here's the good news is, outside of you and I being hosts, if somebody's even a teacher or maybe they're a nurse or whatever it is that they do, it's really about recognizing, okay, what were those attributes that I did so naturally well as a child? Okay,
right.
What are my skills? What do I really enjoy doing? And then, how do I want to leave a legacy? And then you kind of put all those together. So for me, when I interview people, they will say, oh, you're such a good listener, or you ask such great questions. And, I think that's because my whole life I've been listening. I actually listen more than I talk. It's kind of a running joke with my friends that I'll go out to dinner with them, and 45 minutes into our dinner, they're like, okay, enough about me. What about you? Because I just let people go.
And then, but you have so much to say. You literally have so much to say. So I'm grateful that on this show you're having the opportunity to be the guest, which forces you to kind of speak up and share what you're about. So this is an exciting opportunity.
Absolutely, and I will tell you that your show was one of only a few that I'm doing, because you said that so perfectly. Because I interview people all the time, I really don't take time to be interviewed. So I really enjoy what your show stands for, and all the community that you've built and the dreams that everybody has. It's time to turn that page and let's go after them.
That's right. I'm really an avid believer, Nancy, that it's one thing for you to have a dream, but eventually we have to wake up from the dream itself and start living the dream so that we can say that our dreams ultimately did become a reality. So I'm excited because the fact that you not only went to school and went on to work for Oregon News, Good Day Oregon, Good Morning America, you've done so many things. But in the midst of all of those things that you've done, well, first of all, I have to go back just to ask, what gave you the tenacity or the perseverance or the determination to say, okay, I am capable of accomplishing this, and I'm going after it and actually accomplishing it? What was it for you?
That is actually a great question, and I will tell you, when somebody has a health condition like mine, and you're given this news at 16, it can shape the direction of how you go after life. Do you hunker down and, get closed off, or do you go after life in a big way? Mm-hmm. And it really told me, Nancy, you have only so much time. You might have only to 40. You might have less time. This is the time to go get your degree, go after your career, travel to where you want to go. Like, the time is now. Mm-hmm. And what I really focused on is I focused on going after the immediate things that I needed to use my eyes for. I needed to use my eyes to see the Vatican, to see, certain parts of Europe. I needed to see my eyes to go to Japan. I needed to see my eyes to get my degree. At the time, visually impaired software has come a long way, but it didn't used to be so good.
You know what? I have to stop you for 1 second, because right there, I need, every time I hear a really profound point that I need my audience to really grab hold to understanding what you're saying there. You strategically planned what you were going to pursue as far as your dreams and your goals in a manner that merited what you would need your eyesight the most for. So say that point again, because that was very profound.
Yeah, it's just for me, and everybody's going to apply it differently. For me, it was kind of game on. If I look at my bucket list of things I want to achieve, let's achieve the ones that need my eyes the most first,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I went after. That was my order of my method of my madness of what I was going to do.
Mm. And after you did, which you did a lot more than that, so you did way more than people that have full eyesight do in a lifetime. You accomplished in a short period of time in your life. So I commend you again on all of the accomplishments. But then even knowing that you were pretty well to do and had reached the pinnacle of success, but you decided that I am going to now take things in a different direction. And what direction was that for you? Working where you were and knowing that you were really becoming a pillar of success, but you decided that you wanted to take it outside of that entity and take it elsewhere. What did you decide to do?
Are you talking to my personal life, or which part are you talking
Oh,
about?
that's a
There's so
good.
many different
Well, I
directions I
mean,
can go
there
with
are
that.
so many different directions because you have so many different directions. But the thing that I really was talking about is that you were working with Oregon News, Good Day Oregon, Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight. You've done all of these things, but then you decided that you were going to put all of that aside and start your own business, and that's the angle that I was going
Got
to
it.
go with.
Yes. Now I'm with you. You know, yeah. At the time I was gonna. Well, I should say back in 2007, 2008, at that point, I was selling real estate. I was a top producing realtor, and I was still losing my eyesight. In fact, I had to give up driving, and that's actually a funny story because I had to get really creative. When I had to give up driving, I would take anywhere from 2 to 12 buses in a day showing property. I would literally take a bus. I would show up at this $1 million home. I would memorize all the steps. I would turn on all the lights. My clients would come. I would show it with ease. And then they would leave and they would drive off in their BMW. And then I would go back to the bus stop and take my next bus to my next showing. And then over time, I got an assistant and all of that. But selling real estate at the time was a big accomplishment. But I felt like I could do more. And at the time, I was also dating a gentleman for whom I could just tell that we weren't in sync. And I remember being on my porch one day and saying, there's got to be more. Like, is this my biggest calling? What could I do? And so at that point, Living Full Out was born. And it was really a platform for where people could come together and, exchange resources, support each other, get whatever they need to take those action steps. And so that was back in 2008.
Yes.
We started Living Full Out. Mm-hmm.
And so Living Full Out, that's first of all taking that many buses and nobody knowing your plight. Nobody even knew what you were dealing with, the obstacles you had to overcome, the excuses you had to get rid of to be able to say, no matter what, I am going to be where I need to be able to meet the needs of my customers. There are so many people, Nancy, that make so many excuses. They should go through your training because if you can catch that many buses, get there, memorize the layout, have a beautiful Disney experience for your customer, get back on the bus, and all while not complaining about it, you are a person to be commended. So I commend you today.
Thank you. I thank you for that very much.
I thank you because so many people need to hear your story so that they can know that here I can just do anything that I put my mind to. My husband actually this past Sunday, he's a pastor, he preached about not like running with the footmen, but running with the horses. And the way that he shared the sermon, he was saying that we get so caught up and so bogged down in things that are like looking like they're trying to hold us back and obstacles that are in our way. But at the end of the day, we really need to know that we can get past those situations and run with the horses. And they showed an image of the horses running along the sand. And that visual came to mind when you were talking about catching the buses, because technically you've made a decision in your life, Nancy, to run with the horses. So I'm just totally inspired.
I love that. And, the thing I want to piggyback on that I'll share with your audience, and I don't even need to tell people this because they just feel it and know it instinctually. Whether you are a parent, whether you're a professional, whether you're both, you just do what it takes. right?
Right.
Instinctually, you just do it. And it's not about complaining. It's just about writing your story. Some people will go on to write a memoir, and maybe they'll publish it. Who knows what they'll do with it? Other
Right.
people will just have a diary or a journal. But the thing is that people are not enrolled. People are not amazed by all these accolades per se.
That's
It's the
right.
moment. It's the moments when you take 2 to 12 buses. It's the moments when you extend yourself because you do what it takes. That inspires people.
That's definitely the moment. And everybody gets a chance to say, you know what, if she can do this, and that's why I like the whole theory of if I can do it, you can do it. Because even though it's so cliche-ish, if that makes sense, it's very accurate that if I can do it and I am legally blind and can accomplish these great feats in my life, then you can too. And so people that are listening, definitely go to Nancy's site, which is, and tell them your site.
Sure, it's livingfullout.com, and when you go there, you can connect with me, you can watch motivational videos, you can listen to our radio show, you can read our blog. It's just everything that you will need to just stay motivated.
livingfullout.com. Make sure that you take a moment and go to her website and connect with Nancy, because it's some great information. You'll be inspired just going to the website. When I went there, I was like, oh my goodness, I just feel so drawn in, and you don't want to leave the site once you visit it. So make sure that you check out livingfullout.com. And Nancy, what are some of the things that you would say as just words of advice or encouragement to those that are really trying to pursue their dreams, but they feel stuck? And they're like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm trying to do everything I can do, but it's not working. So you, who's accomplished quite a bit, what would you say as some words of encouragement?
Thank you. I'm going to say 2 things. The first one is that when we are stuck and we're in a frenzy and we're spiraling and we're fixated on this event or this problem that's not getting fixed, if we stay in that place, you just go deeper and deeper, or you get more and more frustrated. And sometimes you have to break that cycle. And the best way to break that cycle is to turn your focus to somebody else. I mean, literally, if you're having a bad day, I want you to pick up the phone and call somebody else and ask about their day, and let it be all about them. Because energetically, you're taking that negative energy that's fixated on you, and you're now giving your time to somebody else, and that is actually inspiring when you can do that. Secondly, on that point too, if it's an energetic switch, if you're having a day, then go ahead and take a quick shower, switch that energy, take a nap, eat something that's spicy that would, allow your taste buds to get energized, whatever that is. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is sometimes we have to let go of what something looks like. And I'll say something on a personal note. One of the things that I have gone through personally are miscarriages.
Yes.
I had 5 of them. And well, that way of motherhood may or may not be in my life. As a single woman, I may meet a man who has kids and still be a mother. I am a very good mother to my Jack Russell Terrier. His name is Lionel Richie.
Lionel! Yes. I was going to talk about him.
I'm a great mother. I'm a great mother to Lionel Richie. And so sometimes what I'm getting at is that sometimes there's not just one way to get to the finish line.
That's right.
Try a way and give it your all, but then you just kind of sometimes get to self-correct.
That's
and
right.
You have to trust in the journey and trust in the process, or trust in your faith, whatever that is. But don't be afraid to self-correct, because I don't know if many people in your audience are big Price is Right viewers.
Oh, yes.
But Price is Right. Price is Right used to have this show called Plinko, where you would go and you would put this disc at the top of the board, and you would release it. And it would go in between little pegs,
right.
And then it would land on a number, and that's how much you made.
Right.
Well, life is like that game Plinko. You have to take your disc, your dream, your goal, whatever it is. You have to release it. It's going to go through the pegs, but wherever it ultimately lands is where it lands.
That's a yes. You know what? I'm a believer in what you're sharing, and it can land like Plinko, and it can also land like greatness, which is what yours has landed like because of sheer determination and willingness to give in to what your destiny was supposed to be, you know? So you actually helped shape and create what you're ultimately supposed to become because you didn't just let the Plinko land where it may. You actually took the Plinko and said, I want to steer it over here to Good Day, Oregon. I want to steer it. And so you kind of took it and took the little device and went in a wide variety of directions. Even though, yes, I love Price is Right, but I love how you're taking that Plinko device and moving it in way different directions that were way beyond the limitations that society had put on you based on you being legally blind.
I would definitely say that's the truth. And for me, it's being legally blind. But for anybody else in the audience, it could be a broken heart. It could be another health condition. It could be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. You know, there's always going to be something. So just know that there's always going to be something. when you acknowledge that, then you're like, okay, I'm prepared. Every day there's going to be something. Right?
Yes, there is always going to be something. that right there is excellent. I have to make a big note of that because that's the bottom line. There's always going to be something. And I'm really glad that you talked about Lionel Richie because I wanted to let the audience know that obviously the pain of experiencing multiple miscarriages the way that you have, I consider that the loss of a child because, you know, you were blessed to form the child and then have experienced that level of loss 5 times. So in that regard, you obviously have my condolences and I'm very sorry that didn't pan out in that regard for your life. And obviously, people never know exactly what to say to a grieving parent. And in my opinion, you are a parent because have had 5 situations that just didn't come to full fruition for you to be able to hold them in your arms, you know. But they were all your children, you know. But
and I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that, and I think you nailed it. Is sometimes it's hard to know what to say. And sometimes when somebody goes through loss like that of any kind, I think it's just about being there for them and being that sounding board and again, getting really good at helping them see alternatives. I have a really good friend of mine who's also a life coach, and during that time, she was like, okay, so there's fostering, there's adopting.
Right.
You might have multiple dogs.
Right.
So I think just being a really good friend and helping that person to see alternative options.
That's right. And that's a wonderful friend over there. Wonderful friend. And I'm glad that Lionel Richie is in your life. That's
man,
for sure.
He is a good boy. I mean, he's easy like Sunday morning, aren't you, buddy? Yeah.
And how old is Lionel?
Lionel is 12, and so he's got this distinguishedly handsome look going on, a couple grays. But he's just a calm soul, and it's just kind of one of those things where whether it's people, whether it's friends, doggies, whatever, we surround ourselves with the right people. They will nurture us and love us, and Lionel does that for me.
Oh, and I actually have, our family, we have Brownie Jacobs, and she's a Labradoodle. She's 12 years old. And
cute.
Yes, so we totally love the whole doggy parent thing. So when I call, I'm calling to book an appointment for my dog, but my child, Brownie Jacobs, I'm her mom, so they all know that. So I know the whole dog mom thing, But
right, exactly.
But in the midst of all that you do professionally, I know that you also have some things that you enjoy doing for your hobbies. What are some of those things?
Oh, I love to karaoke. I love it. I love singing, and sometimes you'll see me singing Carrie Underwood, or maybe I'll sing Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, if I'm feeling kind of revved up. But I love singing, and I also think the environment of a karaoke lounge or bar, whatever you want to call it, it's interesting to see the songs that people choose and how emotional they are, or how shy they might be, or boisterous they are. So I love that. I am a beach girl, although I don't surf or any of that.
Right.
I always want to feel that warm sand in my hands. I'm on this planet for only so long. And if I'm going to live here, I'm going to live near the beach. And
That's
so, I want to do that. But yeah, and I love traveling and wine tasting and, all the fun things that come with just, being with other people.
Well, it sounds like you're such like a carefree, loving spirit, and I am just so grateful that you've graced the Kim Jacobs show today by being my very special guest. And I really think that people have gotten a little bit more of an insight to who Nancy Solari is. You're like just a wonderful jewel, is what you are. And I'm smiling. I'm smiling as I'm even talking about you right now. My cheeks are hurting, which is kind of, I don't usually have like burning cheeks when I'm talking to a guest, but you've just made my heart feel so warm and so glad to have you on today.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for everybody who supports your show and is listening because, nobody does it alone. We all do it together. And, I'm just that 10-year-old girl today, as I was years ago. And I think we just have to love ourselves and give ourselves as many opportunities as we can to live full out.
Wow. Well, live full out. Make sure you go to livingfullout.com. Livingfullout.com, right?
Yep, livingfullout.com.
And
we're on all social media too, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And it's all under Living Full Out, right?
livingfullout.com. Yep.
Okay. Make sure that you go to all of the social media outlets. You do not want to lose contact with Nancy. She is a tremendous jewel to the world, and anyone that has not encountered her, you are missing out. So make sure that you go to livingfullout.com to learn more about Nancy and all of the wonderful adventures and things that she has to offer this beautiful society. Make sure some of the takeaway points are: turn your focus to someone else. If you're having difficulty pursuing your own dreams and you're feeling stuck, turn your focus to someone else. Take a shower, according to Nancy. Just take a quick shower. Eat some spicy food. And let go of how something looks, because just because it looks a certain way does not mean that that is how it's going to be. One big thing that she said is there are always alternatives. So if you find yourself where you're missing a component, maybe you'll be blessed to have that component come into your life. So today's show has been just eye-opening, jaw-dropping, and very enlightening. And I'm very glad to have you as my guest. So thank you, Nancy, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish everybody the best, for sure.